Good Saturday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Chris Higgins. I thought I'd throw you another video update. Part of this is just to refine this process to shorten it down a little bit to make it easier. Obviously, a lot of talk about the upcoming week and the potential for two wintry weather type systems. The Sunday evening one certainly does not look like a big deal, and I continue to want to kind of downplay the system heading into Tuesday of next week for the St. Louis area. It's definitely going to be a major winter storm. I'm not really sold at all on the fact that it's going to have a major wintry impact on the St. Louis area in terms of snowfall, at least not the way things are shaping. Number one, this is focused in on the Sunday evening time frame. First of all, this is a very weak system. It's moving very quickly and has limited moisture to work with. But that said, it's still going to produce a little bit of an impact for the bi-state area. Let's break it down. This is again Sunday evening. The center of low pressure passes well to the north of St. Louis, and that's where the main threat for any significant snow will be. In fact, anything north of this line I've drawn on the screen will be all in the form of snow. And there will be accumulating snows laid out across parts of Iowa into Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and extreme northern Missouri. For our viewing area, places like Middleton and Mad About Weatherville and up into Pike County, Bowling Green, areas up that way, might see a dusting to a half inch or an inch at the absolute very most, but it's not much of an accumulation. Further south, it's a little more complicated because of warm air trying to work in the mid-levels of the atmosphere and really all the way down to the surface for that matter. So I'm thinking a mixture, a very light mixture of rain, some sleet, some snow, and some freezing rain potentially at times as well. It's very quick, only for a couple of hours. It's in, it's out. I don't expect any major impacts on the roads, but there could be that little bit of a wintry mix in here late Sunday evening. Everything south of a line from about, let's say, Cuba over to Farmington and Mount Vernon is all rain. Temperatures at the surface will be well above freezing down that way. So let's break down the highlights. This is a quick-hitting storm. It produces only very light mixture of rain, drizzle, and sleet and snow for most of us. That it's going to be followed by a little patchy freezing drizzle or flurries on Monday morning, late Sunday night into Monday morning. And I suppose there could be a couple of slick spots on untreated roadways or untraveled roadways, secondary streets. But I don't expect any major problems for the I-64 opening on Monday morning. All right, it's time to go long-term with the second storm system, the one that's been getting all the headlines heading into next week. And this storm system it definitely has the potential and will be a big snow producer. I just don't really think it's going to be for us here in St. Louis. This is the Canadian 12Z. It's in all the way out through the important times. So I'm just going to page you through here real quickly and get you to the important time frames, passing through the Sunday evening storm system right there, which as you can see looks fairly weak in all regards over Missouri and Illinois. But as I pass you forward now, and this takes us to Tuesday morning, starting to see the western system out here in the 500 millibar chart eject out of the Rockies. It is slower once again, as it has been the trend with each of these model runs to slow this down. It is slower ejecting out of the southwest with this troughing coming out. So, just another couple hours later. I don't think it has a major impact on our eventual evolution. Take you over to the surface chart. Do have cold high pressure centered across the Great Lakes into the southeast at that point, and also wrapping around to the north across the U.S.-Canadian border. That's the real question, is how much this cold air will yield to this developing storm system. You can see the center of low pressure developing in Colorado. Really looks like a Colorado-type low developing on Tuesday morning, and that will tend to follow the thermal gradient to the east, right along Interstate 70 into Missouri and Illinois. Take you forward in time now and watch the progression on all four of these charts. This is Tuesday evening at sunset, and on the 500 millibar side, you can see our shortwave pushing out of Colorado into Kansas and Texas. Vorticity maximum in southeastern Colorado here at 500 millibars. Has a little bit of a diggy nature to it, so it's trying to drive a little more to the southeast. The problem is that also pumps up the ridge ahead of it, and eventually this thing's going to want to crawl up that ridge, and I think that's what eventually will help direct the guts of the storm system just to the north of the St. Louis area. You can see over here on the surface charts how the warm air is beginning to flood back northward in response to that ridging that's developing ahead of the upper level system. You can see the rain-snow line, which is right here, the 540 line, has lifted well north of St. Louis into northern Missouri. In the center of the low-pressure system is fairly strong on that strong thermal gradient over central sections of Kansas. In terms of the 700 millibar circulation, there's not much of a circulation closed off just yet, just a very deep trough. This will eventually become the low pressure at 700 over north central parts of Kansas. And then as you look at the precipitation shield, a strong warm conveyor belt develops, wraps into the cold air, and then back up into Iowa and Nebraska. And that's going to be the area where the heaviest snow falls, where that warm conveyor belt wraps back up into the colder air. Take you forward now. This is the Wednesday morning time frame, and as you'd expect in a fast west to east flow, the storm system is moving quickly. At 500 millibars, the shortwave, the vortmax, is centered pretty much right over just southeast of St. Louis, following our standard forecast rules. About 2 degrees to the left of the track puts a heavy snow band right along the Missouri-Iowa state line at that point, well to the north of St. Louis. And that would seem to follow as you look at the surface low track, which goes from central Kansas right along Interstate 70 through St. Louis up into northwestern Indiana. And you go 2 degrees to the left of that, or a degree and a half to the left of that. And again, you're pretty much looking at northern Kansas, northern Missouri, southern Iowa, into northern Illinois as the strongest prospects for rain, or for snow, rather. At 700 millibars, you have a closed-off low circulation now in northern Illinois. That low tracking from northern Kansas, so generally looking underneath that 700 millibar low for the heaviest snow track. If anything, the Canadian has shifted ever so slightly to the north on this track. And that shows up also on the precipitation output, the explicit rain and snow output here, showing the heaviest overall precipitation for this 12-hour or 6-hour period from near Kansas City up through Kirksville and into northern sections of Illinois. So I think that's the area to focus on with the storm system, not so much down here to the south. So, in summary, for storm system number 2, this is the most likely storm track as I see it right now, and it's pretty much an I-70 type storm as far as the surface and main feature is concerned. It will track from near Denver through Kansas into central Missouri near St. Louis, maybe just a touch south and southeast of St. Louis before bending northward towards the Great Lakes. Now, it's not going to be a tremendous bend, but it will bend back to the north. And as you can see, Tuesday morning on the west side, Wednesday morning on the east side, even if it slows down a little bit, this is a pretty quick moving storm. But this one will have the moisture that the first one lacked, and given all the where the upper level features are, I think heavy snow will be most likely extreme northern Kansas into southern portions of Nebraska along the Missouri-Iowa state line, and then curling up the Mississippi River in western Illinois into northern Illinois and into southern Wisconsin. And I think a band of 4 to 8 inch type snow is certainly possible well to the north of St. Louis. Now, I have a band of lighter snow, and this is to account for any wraparound that does sneak into the St. Louis area, and that takes us down to the I-70 corridor proper. But right now, I really am overall not too impressed with the potential for accumulating snows for most of us in the Fox 2 News viewing area. We'll leave the caveat out there that this thing could be forced a little bit further to the south by the cold air. But at this point, I'm not very confident of that. So I think this is the most likely scenario in terms of weather with this storm system for Tuesday night into Wednesday morning across the bi-state area.